Okay, today we're going to break down the crisis in Gaza. It's a really complex situation that has the world's attention. What we'll do is look at the humanitarian emergency, the international response, and the ongoing difficult search for peace, all based on what our sources are reporting. To really get what's at stake here, you have to start with the human cost. This quote, it just cuts through all the politics and makes it really clear that for people on the ground, this isn't just some abstract conflict. It's a literal, daily struggle against hunger and disease. So let's dive into that first part, the humanitarian emergency. What is the reality of the crisis on the ground? Well, the scale is just staggering. We're talking about many thousands of deaths from hunger-related causes. And tragically, as aid organizations like UNRWA have reported, a lot of those are children. This isn't a warning of a future risk. This is the reality right now.
You see, this whole crisis is like a chain reaction. You have widespread starvation, which then fuels outbreaks of disease. And in a really cruel twist, sources report that some people have even died while trying to get aid. It's an incredibly dangerous situation.
And that leads us to what you could call a tragic paradox. There are these significant efforts to get aid in, but there's a huge gap between the intention behind the aid and the actual reality of delivering it. And here's that paradox in action. On one hand, you see things like the U.S. military doing airdrops. You hear about the Israeli military announcing these daily pauses in fighting in some areas. But on the other hand, the aid agencies on the ground are saying these measures are just not enough. There are still major challenges that mean the help isn't reaching the people who need it most.
As the situation on the ground gets worse, what we're also seeing is a real rise in diplomatic pressure. The world is demanding an end to the fighting.
And this pressure is coming from a lot of different directions. You've got a coalition of nations, including the UK and France, issuing a blunt statement saying the war must end now. Then, at a recent UN conference, there was broad support for a two-state solution. And some countries, like Canada and the UK, are even thinking about a huge diplomatic step, officially recognizing a Palestinian state.
So you have all these different threads, right? The humanitarian crisis, the aid problem, the diplomatic push, and they all come together to form the current situation, a really difficult, unresolved stalemate.
And this is the heart of that stalemate. Despite all the pressure, the core deadlock is still there. Israeli military operations are ongoing. At the same time, a key sticking point in any ceasefire talks is Hamas's refusal to release the hostages. The entire situation is just kind of frozen in this impasse. So after looking at all these layers, the human suffering, the paradox of aid, the global calls for a resolution, we're left with this one absolutely critical question. In this incredibly tangled web of conflict and diplomacy, what could a path to a lasting peace even look like? Figuring that out remains the urgent challenge, not just for the region, but for the entire world.